doesn't end well unless it ends. You can't just report the fucking obvious. Just a motherfucking jump. Just go. And here we go. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy and the other fucking guy joining me this morning on Christmas Eve morning is Leo. Good morning, Leo.
Good morning, brother. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. So one time, this is a little Christmas story I remember. Back years and years ago, when there was a Sears. Did you ever even hear about Sears?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So back when we still had Sears, and Sears was dominant for, I don't know, 100 years, something like that. And they had a catalog. And JCPenney too. And if you were 12, you looked at the JCPenney lingerie section.
Okay.
When you were 12.
Mm-hmm.
But Sears. Sears was the everything store to everybody. It was the Amazon back in the day. And my parents would have this big catalog, and me and my sister were allowed to go through it and, make some suggestions of what we wanted for Christmas. And I made mine, and my sister made hers. And I don't know where my parents were at one night, but they were not home, and I don't know why I was looking at the top of the refrigerator, but I saw the catalog at the top of the refrigerator, and I got it back down, and my mom had the list made out of everything we were getting for Christmas. So I shared the list with my sister. Mm-hmm. So we each knew every single gift we were getting, and it was pretty good that year too. I think that was the year that I got the electric football, where you'd get the little men who would be on this metal field, and they would move like this. And then sometimes, they would spin in circles. And somehow you supposedly were supposed to accurately pass this little spongy, tiny hunk of sponginess that was the football. And you had to flick it. And if you hit your player, well, then it was a completed pass, and if not, then the play was over and you had to reset. Passing was very, very difficult, and long passes just were not a thing, did not happen.
Yeah, just hit and pray.
Not good, but it was fun, and it was still a good Christmas, even though I knew everything I was going to get. And I think that was the only time I knew everything I was going to get. I don't think it happened any other time. And I don't know how many years later, but a few years later, I don't remember, maybe we were even adults, when we finally admitted to my parents or told them that, hey, you remember that one Christmas when you got us this? We knew everything. So we did, because years later, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a big deal. But even being from very humble beginnings, we usually had very good Christmases, and we would open our gifts on Christmas Eve. And it's not because we had somewhere else to go, like the next day. Like my grandpa's house or my grandma's, we might make those stops, but it wasn't anything like that. We just celebrated on Christmas Eve. Not one gift. I know some people do that too, where they get one gift on Christmas Eve and then they get the rest. I don't know. Maybe it was just that my parents didn't want to wake up early on Christmas morning, so give the kids their gifts. And somehow, I don't know, when I was young enough to still believe in Santa Claus, I don't know how I figured in my mind that somehow we were special or something, that Santa gave us our gifts early, that we were able to open them on Christmas Eve.
Oh, gotcha.
Because it really doesn't make sense if you believe in Santa Claus, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
Not putting two and two together.
Yeah. Or, maybe I was just a dumb little kid. But no, I love the Christmas spirit, and I love the Christmas time of year. And the one thing I know about Christmas spirit is it doesn't take snow to have the Christmas spirit. I can assure you all that I was hoping that would be the case when I moved out here to Arizona, and it actually is the case that snow is not needed. It's not a necessary ingredient, and Santa likes Arizona too. And we've had some great weather the last few days. I mean, it's even been, I think, above average as far as temps and normal. I mean, usually for the most part, we're definitely in, sweatshirts this time of year. This is our sweatshirt time of year. And it is, late at night, early in the morning. But, I mean, we've had some upper 70s, even 80-degree days here in the last week. It's been absolutely beautiful. Today, very cloudy because we're supposed to get some rain. But still the Christmas spirit. I love Christmas, and I usually like to keep the tree up to, I would say, at least a week, somewhere. You can take the Christmas tree down between week 1 and week 2 of January. It's just something about it. I love having the lights on the tree in the house, and just something I've always enjoyed. And people have different favorites for their holiday. Well, this is definitely mine. And we're going to enjoy it this year, and hopefully you do too. So we'll talk a little bit more about Christmas before we sign off. I was trying to decide, it's the day before Christmas. How much political stuff do I really want to address? And, well, here's a story that fits Christmas in, and you just wonder what's wrong with some people.
I'm sorry. I need to be right back. I got
Yes.
something in my eye somehow.
That's all right, brother. I got it. I'm good. I'll pull it up here on my phone so that I can read it. And interesting, y'all remember Sarah Huckabee Sanders, right? And she is a governor, and she's been governing very well the state of Arkansas, just as her father had done years ago. And here's the story. Governor Sanders rejects demand from legal group to undo Christmas closure. I will do no such thing. So basically, government offices, state government offices, we're going to be closed on Christmas, why shouldn't it be? So Arkansas Republican Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders is firing back at a legal group who took issue with her recent move to close state offices on Friday. So she's giving them an extra day, 4-day weekend, December 26th, to celebrate Christmas and give employees more time with their families. After issuing a proclamation closing the state offices for Christmas, she received a letter from the Freedom from Religion Foundation, a group that is focused on the separation of church and state. And that's not in the Constitution, right? If you don't, fact check it so you know. Calling for her to reverse the move and claiming that it was unconstitutional. In a response letter obtained by Fox News Digital, she told them she would do no such thing. You say that my communications as governor must be neutral on matters of religion. I say that even if I wanted to do that, it would be impossible. Christmas is not simply an end-of-the-year holiday with broadly observed secular cultural aspects, as your letter states. It's not gifts, trees, stockings that makes this holiday special. Christmas is the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. And if we are to honor him properly, we should tell his miraculous, world-changing story properly, too. Sanders went on to call it ironic that she received a letter claiming I was alienating my non-Christian constituents as I was leaving a menorah lighting, celebrating with people from all across Arkansas. Sanders wrote, I doubt they would say that my administration alienates non-Christians. In fact, many would say the opposite, that only by voicing our own faith and voicing and celebrating other faiths can we make our state diverse religious communities feel seen and heard. And you celebrate what you celebrate and acknowledge what other people celebrate. You know, I celebrate Christmas. I'm going to say Merry Christmas. If you're Jewish and you want to say Happy Hanukkah, please do. I will say it back to you. I mean, it would be real simple. I say Merry Christmas. They say, well, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to you. And I'd say, yes, you're right. Happy Hanukkah to you as well. Nobody has to be offended by these things and act like little children. But that's what we get. And that's just been the state of our country for a little while now when it comes to these things. I doubt the employees, the non-Christian employees, I doubt they mind having an extra day off to spend with their families.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, an extra paid day off. Who's not going to take that? Just crazy. That's how radical these people are. Yes. And I got other stories about their radicalism. But just thought I'd share that. But she has done a great job at Arkansas. I think, well, not enough. She doesn't get enough props for what she's done in that state, you know. We tend to talk about either like crazy governors, like the governors we have, the lunatic governors we have in California, in Minnesota, and we talk about the conservative governors we have in Texas and Florida, but there are others out there, and women. You know, the Republican Party has had a number of really good women governors, and this is how I know that at some point, what we're going to see is we're going to see a female president sooner rather than later. And presidential candidates or presidents typically are former governors. If you kind of go through the list, now Trump wasn't anything prior to that. Very few are senators like Biden and Obama were. If you go further back, the dominant thing that they have in common is having been a governor and showing that you can govern and be in charge and do good things. And we've had a number of very, very good women as governors. And so that's just, as that continues to grow, then it is going to be diverse. That they're going to be, when one of these Republican female governors runs, and they have run before, but when they finally break through, it's going to be because of what they've done and what they've accomplished. It's going to be on merit. It's not going to be because they're a woman. You're not voting for them because they're a woman. You're voting for them because they're a good candidate. You like what they've done in the state that they do govern, and you'd like to see more of that around the country. And that's as it should be. A woman shouldn't be, that shouldn't be an issue. And honestly, I think we are very much ready for that. I don't know if it'll happen this coming up election or not. Well, not coming up. We got 3 years to go in 2028, but it very well could be. And I think that would be an excellent if it was, or that they get to like Governor Kristi Noem. She was one who's a very, very good governor, but there are others. And as you see, here in Arkansas as well. But, you don't hear her talked about. Like I said, you don't hear Sarah Huckabee talked about, Sarah Sanders talked about as much as she should be, because she has really done well with her state in a number of different areas. So might be something to take a look at that will get her on a future ticket. I could see even her as a vice presidential pick. That would make sense. You know what? That would be actually a good pairing. Her and J.D. Vance would be a really good pairing, honestly. So, but that's just wanted to share that little bit about Christmas and these crazy people and what they believe. And then this story, I was debating whether or not to talk about this the day before Christmas, but geez, oh Pete's. The lunatics on the left will, the things that they believe in and the things that they're pushing for is just, it's evil and diabolical. A coalition of 19 states and the District of Columbia, this is from CBS News, on Tuesday sued the Department of Health and Human Services and RFK Jr. and the Inspector General over a declaration that could complicate access to gender-affirming care for younger people. Why do they want to mutilate children so badly? Or give drugs to children that can have really damaging effects on them? Why is it a bad thing? I'm willing to compromise. I'm just not willing to compromise as a conservative. I'm not willing to compromise on the youth, on minors. This should not be happening with minors. But when they are of age, and I'm fine with 18, I think it's ridiculous. We have crazy ages from 18 to 21 to 25 for healthcare, like all these crazy ages of when we decide, well, you're an adult at this time, but you're not an adult for this until this later time. It's just crazy. We just need to pick something. And I'm okay with 18. And a lot of people are, I figure if you can go serve your country, if you can go die for your country, you're an adult. And that should just be the way that it is. Why is it a bad thing to make these young people that really, you could tell me what, they're just going to commit suicide because they don't get the right drugs or get the right surgery done? I'm sorry. I don't believe that. I'm okay with people making whatever decisions they want to make. So that's my kind of line in the sand, is I prefer people not do it at all. But I respect individual rights. And so if you're 18, you want to make a decision like that, okay. We can go with that. I just leave the kids alone. And they just really, really seem to be pushing this. And you got to, what is it? Why do they want this that badly? I really do not understand. And I'd like to understand what their reasoning is for this. It's not unusual for adults to be confused. So it's probably something for young people to be confused too. And it's okay. But to make changes to yourself that might not be reversible, especially if you're a young girl transitioning to be a boy, and the damage you can do to their chest and their body, again, you want to make that decision when you're 18, go do it. So that's the one thing. The other thing is that I don't want, as an American citizen, I don't want to be forced to pay for it. We taxpayers should not be forced to pay for somebody else's. This is not life saving surgery. This is elective surgery. Just like if you want to get a nose job, right? God gave you an ugly nose and you want to change your ugly nose. You know who should pay for that? You should. You should pay for that. You want to cut your dick off after you're 18? You know what? You should pay for it. Don't ask the rest of us to pay for it. That's our only requirements. We're not banning gay people. We're not banning trans people. It's not like that. Like, do whatever you want to do. But your rights end where you're infringing on my right. You do not have a right to force me to contribute to your lunacy. You want to make a decision about yourself? I have no problem about that. Just don't make us do that. But 19 states and the District of Columbia. The declaration issued last Thursday called treatments like puberty blockers, hormone therapy, surgeries unsafe and ineffective for children and adolescents experiencing gender dysphoria or the distress when someone's gender expression doesn't match their sex assigned at birth. It also warned doctors that they could be excluded from federal health programs like Medicare and Medicaid if they provide those types of care. The declaration came as HHS announced proposed rules meant to further curtail gender-affirming care for young people, although the lawsuit doesn't address those as they are not final. They are pushing this so hard. And it hurt them in the last election, but they seem to be doubling down on it and going even further. And was there another one too related to this? Did I have something else besides this one? Was that it? All right. That's okay. I didn't want to miss if I had another story that linked to it too. But that's good. So let's just say in the spirit of Christmas that, bless you people, bless you lunatics, but we are not going to back off from protecting kids. It's just not going to be a thing. This is the same group of people that want you to believe that they care about sex trafficking of minors. They care so much about minors, they don't care if their bodies get mutilated. I haven't said much in the last week about the release of the documents that was supposed to be done. And I guess it's fair to say that the government did not meet the deadline. So there was a law that was passed. The president signed it to release these documents. And the thing that bothers me as a conservative is why, not only why wasn't it done so we can get through this and pass this, but some of these documents, again, were ones that have not been seen before. A bunch of the stuff is things that we have seen before. But a whole bunch of it has not been seen before. And my question is, why wasn't that done before? Because they told us, oh, everything's out there. We've released everything. This is all that it is. And we keep finding out there's more. And there's really nothing, so far that's been released that, implicates Trump in any wrongdoing. And even Bill Clinton. There are some ones that are maybe are a little cringe with Bill Clinton, but there's none that it was like, oh, got ya. The one got you that really has been reinforced since these latest documents have been dumped is Prince Andrew. I mean, that is pretty much like That's the nail in the coffin for him. I mean, they did strip him of his Prince title, and yeah, he is definitely not getting that back. And there were actual evidence in there that he was with, and accusations were made by victims naming him specifically. So that's what I've seen so far. And the Democrats get to use this as a bullying tool. And I hate that they get to do that. But what else do you expect them to do? When, again, even as a conservative, you look at, like, I want the Epstein files too. I've wanted them before any of these Democrats wanted them. And a lot of us have. I just don't understand why they can't get their shit together. And then like some things were posted, and then so many hours later, some things were taken down. And you know what? And I'm at the point now where if you keep repeating the justice for the survivors, you know what? Then name everybody. Name everybody. I mean, most of these survivors have come out anyways, right? So if they've already come out, they've been part of lawsuits or other things, or they've done videos, whatever, why are we hiding their names? Just put it all out there so we just done. No protection for anyone. Put the documents out there, stop redacting shit, and just publish it so everybody can get through it and you're just done. And enough with the fucking around with fake photographs or taking a real photograph and then blocking people's pictures out when in the one case they were women of the Hawaiian tropic. You know, it was like one of their events. There was nothing sordid about that. I mean, I've taken a picture before with a group of Hooters girls. You know, it would be like blocking their faces out. That's just dumb. But if their faces are blocked out, it makes it look like, oh, there was something there. No, there wasn't anything there. And that was proven later because that picture had been out before. People were able to show that picture with the faces not blocked out or redacted. The one that was interesting to me that we learned in this latest batch of files that have been put out, and then we've had a couple small little drops since that previous drop last week. These little drops is there is a letter from Epstein to Larry Nassar. And if you remember, Nassar was the coach that was guilty of abusing young girls in gymnastics. And that, I guess, that letter is fake, but I don't understand why somebody would create a fake letter like that for whatever the purpose would be, but it's there, I guess. So I just want it to be done. But I want it to be done because it's all been released. And the other thing is that I want to know too, that basically from these documents, we learned that there's 10 other people that the FBI was interested in or that they thought were connected to Jeffrey Epstein in the way of that they somehow participated or aided in the abuse of these young women. 10, but we don't know their names. Okay. That's more, you know, every picture of somebody with Jeffrey Epstein doesn't mean that they're guilty of something. But these 10, they had, you know, some reasons to be. That needs to be, that's what people want. People want accountability. And if former Prince Andrew is, somebody that needs to pay a price for what he did, then that should be done. But we want these people because it wasn't Jeffrey Epstein just by himself. Nobody believes that on any side. Well, who are the other ones? And now, for the first time, we have that there are kind of at least 10 that we have an idea about. Well, where's more of that evidence? Why didn't the FBI continue to pursue that? Is there a reason that somebody was looked into and then it was dropped? Should it have been dropped? Should they continue and do an investigation now? That's the kind of transparency we want. I want this to be over because things are out and transparent and we have the answers to these questions. Instead of allowing this lunatic fringe group of people use this terrible thing that happened to these women as a weapon. That's what they're able to do. They're able to use it as a weapon. And I tell you what, there certainly is a lot of pictures of this guy. And I get it, the last 10, 15 years, maybe even in the 2000s a little bit. But, I mean, in the 1990s, we weren't using our phones to take pictures with. So you were using some kind of regular camera. And we take way more pictures now by 1,000 times than we used to years ago. I mean, I can't even describe how many pictures a day I take, or, screenshots or things like that too. It's a lot. But there does seem to be a lot of pictures of him floating around, or that he had. That just interesting to note, simply because most people don't have that. I can say, I could understand if certain individuals had a picture or two because he was well known. People wanted to have a picture with a billionaire or whatever he was considered. I don't know how much money he had. He certainly tried to live like a billionaire. And he might have been worth a couple $100 million, but he lived like he had more than that. It sure seems like. I think he only paid $7.8 million. That's the number I recall for the island. Yeah, look up what did Jeffrey Epstein pay for his island. I would just think that an island would cost more than that. Even a little one.
So Little St. James, he paid 7.995 million for 75 acres. Great St. James, 165 acres for more than 20 million. Some sources have it at 22.5 in 2016.
And which one was it that he lived on mostly? I don't understand the difference between the two, or why would you have two islands that are like close to each other? I don't know.
We've learned why.
Do you have people at both? Did he have homes on both?
I would assume so. Keep things private. I mean, if they're not that far from each other.
But I was close. 7.8 is close to 7.95 on the one. I thought I had seen a figure like that. Just, yeah.
So Little St. James, which was his primary residence, so the smaller one.
Okay. What does it say about? I can't read it from this far away. What does it say about the Great St. James?
Although he purchased the larger Great St. James in 2016, it remained largely undeveloped at the time of his death in 2019. He reportedly purchased it primarily to ensure privacy for his activities on Little St. James and to prevent outsiders from viewing the smaller island.
Hmm.
Both were sold in 23 for $60 million to Stefan Dekhoff, who plans to develop it into a luxury resort.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's double what he paid for it. Interesting. Yeah, I just want it to be out there. I just want it to be done. I want it to be transparent. I want them to stop fucking around. I want people's just things to not be redacted anymore. Because until we do that, there's always going to be a question. What's behind the black marker? Let's just put it out there and be done. And hopefully, and the people, like I said, the people that should be held accountable are held accountable. And there are still people out there today that should be held accountable. And, the lunatic fringe, they do not have a moral authority over us to make demands, and I'm over it. So that's the other reason I wanted to get past that. So, some good football coming up this weekend.
Got some good games?
Yeah, there should be. Yeah, I watched Toledo yesterday. They played Louisville. And, Louisville was one of the teams that beat Miami. And, they were unranked, but they're a decent team. They're not a scrub. And Toledo hung in there. I took I took Louisville to win and the over, but I was still rooting for Toledo, and it didn't look like the over was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, the game went from being a little boring in the first half to a lot of excitement in the second half.
Oh, wow.
But the University of Toledo looked pretty good.
40 points in the last.
Yeah, basically, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And that, so good for them. That these are the kind of games that you should have. And Toledo didn't belong in the playoffs, and neither did Tulane or JMU. Or who, I don't even know who won the MAC this year. I think Ohio won the MAC, and Ohio beat UNLV last night. But can you look at that? Who won the Mid-American Conference in 2025 football? I'm pretty sure it was Ohio. But like I said, I could be wrong. There were a few decent teams playing well. Western Michigan did? Wow. And Miami, Ohio was the runner-up. Interesting. So that means a few decent teams, because you have those two teams. Then you have Ohio and the University of Toledo. That's, four decent teams at the top there slugging it out. Very interesting. Other games coming up, we're going to see on Friday. After the show, we're going to be going to see the University of Minnesota play New Mexico. But, what I'm really waiting for is the Alabama game coming up on Saturday as they take on Indiana. I think that, Indiana won that very close game against Ohio State. And that was the first time they, really beat a really quality team. I do think they had a win against Oregon. Oregon was decent too. But for the most part, when people are looking at schedules and bad-mouthing Notre Dame over schedule, so it's been a historical thing for, 80, 90 years, something like that USC and Notre Dame have played each other. But it's been a long-standing rivalry. Well, that rivalry now has been ended and won't be continued until at least 2030. that they couldn't come to an agreement. And that was a game that was traditionally played more towards the end of the year. And basically, USC came out and said, with the way that the CFP is and the way that they pick teams for the playoffs, they really didn't want a game that they had the potential to lose at the end of the season. And that's exactly what I said we were going to get. You're going to get teams that, if you're going to penalize teams, that play another good team and lose by 1 or 3, like Notre Dame was penalized at the beginning of the year, then you're going to have them, people like for their non-conference games, and all of Notre Dame's are non-conference, but these other teams that have non-conference games, they're not going to include a good team anymore. Texas would typically take on a team outside, even before they got into the SEC, they would typically take on a really good team outside of their conference. And what's the incentive to do that if doing so would now keep them away from the playoffs? They're not going to. And the types of teams that they're going to schedule are going to be like the Toledos, the Ohios, the ones that are decent teams in their conference, but in no way can compete with the Big Two, which is the SEC and the Big Ten. You really have that now. I think between the two conferences, it's like 34 teams. And I think you should include the ACC, but I think you should have those 3, and just have them play for their own championship, and everybody outside of those 3 conferences play in their, championship or whatever. Much like it's done in high school, that you might be, a Division 4, Division 5 team, and you might play other Division 4s and 5s. You also might sneak in a game against a Division 3, because if you win, it makes you look good. And they might want to take on a Division 6 because they want at least one easier win. That's how it's always been done for years and years. But when you don't have these teams playing common opponents, then it's really, really hard to evaluate. And that's what we have now, and why this whole, 5-conference thing, it just is not good. And the reason we had JMU in them, they should compete for something, just not with the big boys, because it's just not where they're at. They can have players that are good enough to play for those teams, but their team as a whole is on a different level. And that's what many of these big schools are doing. They're going and stealing a player from a JMU or, somebody else like that, South Alabama, North Texas. Those are not teams that are ever going to be able to compete against Big Ten teams. But they have some players. That should be acknowledged, and just let them have their own championship. I think you could make more money. Would just be something I'd rather watch. I'd rather see. But I am disappointed that Notre Dame will no longer be playing USC for a few years. But I will say this. They scheduled BYU for the next 2 years, which I think is great. That's who they were supposed to play in the bowl game that they decided not to play in. That's who they're going to play the next 2 years. And already had a conversation with my friend Marlon that we're maybe going to make the flight to South Bend next year. And then the year after that, it'll be in Provo, Utah. I've never been to Utah, so I would love to go. And just for the experience and, using the reason of a football game as a reason, that always works for me to do that. So I think that was great that they were able to fill that with another team that was, good and competitive. There are people that thought that, especially if JMU and Tulane had not been automatic bids, like they were, that Notre Dame would get one of the slots, and some people think that BYU should have gotten one of those slots. The other two teams considered were Vandy and Texas. Put out of there. But definitely BYU is a good, solid program, and they've done better than USC has recently. So, they didn't, the hats off to Notre Dame for not, for losing this kind of sucks, this rivalry, but they replaced it with another good team and didn't, put in a go after, like I said, one of the smaller schools that they could have gotten away with and had a for sure win. BYU is not a for sure win. And, what fun is that if you had a whole schedule of that? That doesn't really show what you're capable of. And you got to beat other good teams. And we want some type of system where it's going to still encourage them to play each other throughout the year. So hats off to them. Last thing, because we're kind of keeping it short today because of Christmas Eve, and I got some final things to wrap up, and I'm sure you all do too. But I just want to say how blessed I have been for this past year. I just want to acknowledge how grateful I am for everything that came my way, no matter how difficult it was. And that I was able to turn many of those difficulties, that I was able to withstand them, and I was able to grow from them and come out better on the other end. I'm grateful for this show and y'all out there listening to it. You three people, I love you three. And we're just going to keep going because I don't know anything else, Maybe somebody else is better than me and they can do this faster. And that may be true. But I'm still going to get there. And the reason I'm going to get there is because of persistence, that I'm going to keep grinding it out. And to me, the goal is to get there and have this be a show that people would consider to be a success based on the interest of other people, that I'm doing something that entertains or other people are interested in listening to. That kind of a thing. And just, you know what? As long as you get to the goal, does it really matter if it takes 4 years versus 3.5? The goal is to get there. And maybe I'm just slow. And I've always had to fight for things in my life, or felt like I had to get to different places. And I saw friends and others and colleagues, get there much quicker. But I always stuck it out, and I always fought, and I always got there myself. And that's why I want to encourage you all that in this next year, don't wait on somebody else. Don't wait on the government. Don't wait on a family member or a business partner. You make it happen. You grind it out. And you can get there. Whatever it is you want, it's more important to have that discipline and that spirit of not quitting than it is to be just super smart. Everybody's not going to be super smart, but you can still have that success too if you're willing to pay the price. I give you a really quick example. I was talking to a young man who was in sales, and I gave him a little tip on secrets to sales. I said, take a look at who's ever number one in your company. How many people is he calling? Does he have to call 10 people to get one appointment? Then what's your number? Maybe your number is 15. You know what that means? You can have the same success as him, but you got to call 5 more people. And are you willing to do that? And actually even more, which is what I told him. Do more than whatever that top person is doing. If they're seeing 4 people a day for appointments or 5 people, your goal should be 6. Your goal should be more than what theirs is. And whatever it takes to get there, if it's 400 phone calls, then you need to be making 500, whatever it is. There are numbers, and the numbers do matter, and numbers do work. And as you do those numbers, you're probably going to get better. And you're going to get better quicker by doing more. So just find out, what is the top guy doing? And set that as your minimum. Do more than whatever that person is doing. Come in an hour before that guy, leave an hour after him. Do the work. Grind it out, because life is hard. Enjoy things when you can, and especially during this time of Christmas. And, I've experienced a little loss here recently. And so it means a lot. It means a lot to me to be with the people that I care about and celebrate with them. And you don't get that, you only have today. So it's so precious. Do what you can to enjoy that, won't you, over this period of time? And from the time that we end the show until Friday, let's forget about all the hate and the political bullshit in the world, and just wish the best for everyone. Remember what I said. Merry Christmas. And if you say, yes, Merry Christmas to you, Happy Hanukkah. And I'm just going to say, Happy Hanukkah as well to you. Don't be offended. You don't have to say the word holidays. I don't. I wish people Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah or both. It's just that simple. That's real respect, is respecting and doing that with other people and just showing them that you care. Just a few little words. That's what I got for you. Leo, thank you. Much appreciated, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
A lot of this is all because of you, man.
Well, I'm glad we get to do this together, man.
Me too.
Honestly, I value the friendship. I mean, that you, I know I'm an old dude, but I do value that, and your contributions to this, and your work to keep learning and doing more so that we can do the best we can at this. And we're going to have a good year next year.
Oh, yeah, we are. Oh, man. Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
So we got some things coming. All right. Maybe we'll talk about a little bit about that on Friday. But y'all enjoy. Merry Christmas to you. God bless. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy.
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to